All right. Well, hey Tyler, we're back. We watched some movies recently. Went to the theater even twice in a week span. When's the last time you went to the theater and twice in a week?
Back when I worked construction, I had to take a shit, and theater was right next door, and they had a
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah.
So I went like 4 or 5 times that week.
Oh man, you were
I
really.
don't think this is what you were
It's not what I
referring
meant.
to.
No, but you know, it's nice to support your local theater however you can.
Well, I didn't buy anything.
Well, you left something.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
And that's just a part of life. Giving gifts. That's what they want, right?
Giving gifts, unwelcome gifts.
Yeah. Uh,
But no, I don't remember. Like I said, all the time I go to the movies is with you, so
mm-hmm.
it's like I'm not sure I've been in a long time. So
No. Uh, but anyway, number one, we saw Maxxine, which is the third and maybe final installment of the X trilogy, because I did see the director immediately talking about how he might make another one. And so it was like, oh, okay, well, why'd you make this one? And I gotta tell you, I think me and you both agree after seeing this movie that we wish he would have just not made this one and just made whatever the new one is that he had in his mind. Because this movie was a big old stinky pile of dog poo poo. I didn't like it at all.
it, I don't know who it was made for. Like, obviously, we're both dudes or whatever, so maybe it's made to appeal to like strong female protagonists, or whatever. That being said, I don't think we're super sexist or anything to where we could appreciate strong female
Yeah,
characters. But
I don't think women are digging this movie. Like, all I've
I
seen
don't
on it
know.
is hate.
Like I said, I just I can only speak for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it wasn't scary. There was no jump
To be
scares, no
fair,
like psychological or anything like that.
yeah.
Wasn't really gory, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything, it was just like maybe somewhat suspenseful, but it was very easy to figure out what was going on and who it was,
Yeah.
especially if you knew, like, you've seen the others.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't. I'm gonna say it had nothing going for it. Like,
No. I've told you several times since we saw it that it feels like it shouldn't even exist. Like there was nothing I gained from the story of Maxine in that movie that I wouldn't have just gained after if it ended with X and she goes off, because we can basically make up our own minds about where she goes from there. It's like, okay, she goes to Hollywood, she'll get a couple roles or something. In this movie, it just felt like it didn't need to exist the whole time I was watching. The twist, if you can even call it a twist, I guess it's more of just a reveal of who's doing the killing in the movie. Like you said, the whole time I was watching it, and I was like, are we supposed to not know who it is? Like, I was like, it's very obvious who the killer is. Uh, like you said though, if you just watch Maxine, maybe you wouldn't know, because we took our buddy Maverick, who used to be on the show before he.
alive. He used
Yeah,
to be alive.
he used to
He's
be
dead now.
alive. Yeah. Uh, he actually died after the movie. He killed himself after he saw it.
Well, I was going to
Funny.
contradict what you're about to say, but yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but he saw it and he didn't know who the killer was, and he hasn't seen the first two, so it was like, okay, maybe then he hasn't seen the first two, and he also missed the beginning of the movie because he was buying popcorn and sodas and stuff. So he came back and kind of missed the setup, like the little video they play in the beginning. So he really was out of the loop. He was like, I got no idea who this is. But once again, also, guy who's never seen the other two, uh, he apparently liked this movie. So maybe this movie as just a single entity, if you've never seen the other two, maybe you like it. But having seen the other two, no. I don't like. I don't like it at all. Also, what would you say was the style of this one? Because each one kind of had its own. Like X was like gory '70s slasher throwback kind of flick, and then Pearl was kind of like a weird Wizard of Oz fantasy horror flick. What was this one? Just like a mystery noir thing?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like a gritty
Yeah.
detective style, like late 70s, like kind of grungy Miami Vice meets, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's like, well, I know you already said you didn't like it, but like,
Several times.
but rank the three, not like against each other, but just like out of 10. Because I'm gonna be honest, uh, X was like an 8 out of 10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl was like a 10 out of 10, and I
Yeah.
want to say, and it's just because of the weird twist halfway through, but I'm not gonna go into it.
Uh-huh.
And then
We
this
have
one,
episodes on both of those movies, by the way. You
yeah,
can go watch
yeah.
them.
And like this one was like a 4, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't even know. I think a 4 is being
This
generous.
this one is the only one of the trilogy that I think is a bad movie. And I'm not. I've been vocal both times we've done these movies. These movies are very popular. X and Pearl both are very popular. Everyone really likes them. I'm not crazy about them. I like them. I think X is fine. Uh, Pearl, when Pearl picks up, I think I like the back half of Pearl better than I like the back half of X, but I like X as a whole more than Pearl. And so this movie, I was kind of expecting the same thing as with like Pearl, where I was like, okay, the first half is kind of shitty. Kevin Bacon's doing his weird. Listen here, girly. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna shoot you in the face. You know. Uh, and I was like, okay, but the back half it'll really pick up, and then it never did. And then the last 15 minutes, they're like, oh, I guess we should probably tell you who the killer was. Here's a Colt.
But here's like my thing.
Uh huh.
So in X, you're like, what the fuck's going on with this crazy old lady, right?
Yeah.
In Pearl, you're like, how the fuck does this young girl, who is the old lady, but you're
Mm-hmm.
like, how does this lady lose her shit and end up like the old lady?
Yeah.
Maxine has no question at all that you want to answer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no, I wonder what's going to happen next. Like, you
Yeah.
don't care. She's kind of a stuck up, spoiled lady.
Uh huh.
Like, there's no point in the movie where you're like, I'm going to root for her, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's weird.
Um. Yeah. Like you said, the other movies they have questions you want answered and a mystery of how does this stuff. But this one, and I don't know how many times we can go over it. There was no question of what was happening because it was so easy to know what was happening. You know what I mean? Um, I guess we should probably get into the spoilers now. Before we do that, uh, would you recommend this movie, Tyler?
If you've seen the first two and enjoyed them, I would recommend watching this on Netflix. I wouldn't recommend going out and seeing it. If you seen either one and didn't like it, then by all means pretend it doesn't exist.
I I'm kind of the opposite. I would say if you've seen the first two, I don't really think you need to spend your time on this one. Like you're not. I don't think you'll gain anything from it. It's not like oh, I really need to get see how Maxine's story ends because spoiler, it doesn't really end in this movie. It just goes to a new chapter, which once again, I guess that's how the guy is like, oh, I could probably make a fourth one, uh but
But how?
yeah,
Like, what would she be in the new old lady and it'd be like modern day? And
maybe
I
you
don't
could
know.
maybe do that. She's like a fallen star, but they kind of already then they just rehash X. I guess it'd be like a full circle moment, you know. Um, and because in X, isn't
I
there a
don't.
line where she's like, "I'll never end up like you," and Pearl is like, "Yes, you will," or whatever.
But yeah, no, it's like I said, we can go all over this movie, but I don't think there's really a point. Like that's literally what happens in it. Her friends get killed, uh, and that's it. And then he pops up, and it's who it is.
Yeah. All
Unless you
right.
have some weird stuff to add.
Well, hey, spoiler warning. Yeah, so it's the dad
Yeah,
who's doing the killing.
and if you watch the end of X, you already know kind of who he is.
Yeah, like, well, yeah. If
I
you've
don't even know
seen,
if it's the end.
it's the end
Like,
of
right?
X. It's the end of X where he's like, uh, the devil took my daughter, and it shows like him holding up a picture of like Maxine or whatever, and so you're like, okay, and that's where she gets her, I will not accept a life I do not deserve or whatever. Um, that's his like motto. Uh, Yeah, and if you forgot about that, they make sure to at the beginning of the movie play you like a little old home style video of the guy filming little Maxine doing like a was she singing or was she doing like a prayer? But I remember at the end she does the I will not accept a life I do not deserve. But anyway,
Pretty
but
sure she's like, maybe she's singing. I don't know.
I think she might have been singing, but I can't remember the song she was singing. Or we could just be making that up. We saw this movie a week ago, and we took shots while we were sitting in the theater, and we were both, I was feeling pretty good. Um, but yeah, so the whole movie, I'm like, okay, it's the dad doing the killing. To the point that it was so obvious, I almost was like, maybe they're gonna fake us out. Like I was like, maybe it's gonna be the director lady, Because I feel like the director lady didn't really have a point in the movie. To be fair, though, she was my favorite part of the movie. I don't know why, but every scene that she was involved in, I just really liked her in the movie. Um, the
You just
actress,
got a thing for like masculine looking women.
that's your thing, man. I've seen the pictures you sent.
I know, I do know. I like muscle mommies. Yeah.
uh, um, I don't know the actress lady. Guys, she was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. She's the gold lady who makes Adam Warlock. She Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's the one she was in. There's too many Guardians movies now. I can't keep up. Three's the one that this happened in. I forgot there's 4 of those movies nowadays. Um, I guess you could call her Adam Warlock's mom because I think in the third one he calls her mom. But she's the director of these horror movies called The Puritan, and Maxine gets a role in The Puritan 2. Apparently, The Puritan 1 was like a hit, and no one expected it, and it was directed by a female, and so they were making a second one, and Maxine gets a role in it, uh, and so it's like her big break in Hollywood. Um, and there's all these scenes of her and the director lady like talking and it's a man's world and it's hard for a woman to make it in this industry and all this shit, and it was so much that I was like maybe she is involved, maybe she's the killer in all this, and no, never really went anywhere with that. With the director lady. I get the movie. Didn't you have a theory where at the end of the movie it's showing her like on the red carpet and stuff? You don't think that was real? You think that was like a fantasy in her head?
No, I mean that's 100% a fantasy. And then she comes back to reality and then shoots her dad. That's why I don't. You were like,
Hmm.
I don't think so, and I was like, what? No, Tom, it
Yeah.
is.
I
And then
don't think so.
after she starts shooting the movie, like going back to it or whatever. But
Nah,
I mean, you're gonna have to watch it again now.
I'm not gonna watch it again.
You got to.
No,
Now you questioning.
no. I'll just believe what I believe. It could be wrong. I don't care.
This is
I'll
gonna be
just
like that game where if you die 5 times, it starts over, and you just never knew because your friends lied to you like
yeah,
assholes.
like real dicks.
I don't even know the name of the game.
It
I just
was
agreed.
it was Hellblade, Sienna's Sacrifice or something. Yeah, and fucking Bags was like, "Hey, yeah, that game if you die 5 times, it like rots up your arm and then you have to restart." So every time I died, I would like hurry up and exit the game and stuff. And then I never finished it. And then like years later, I mentioned it, and Bags was like, "Yo, I was lying, G." And I was like, "What?" Yeah. So that's fun. And Tyler was there too. He just went along with it. He went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." That's what happens. But
I felt horrible after, but yeah.
yeah, you should. I never finished it.
But anyway,
But yeah, but no, the director lady didn't go anywhere, and it just ended up being the dad the whole time who was killing people. I guess how many people do you think he actually killed? Because Kevin Bacon was probably doing the most killing, right? Like he's the one that probably killed the black dude that runs the porno shop.
well, no, that's the weird thing is that the dad was doing it because he was like, "I really appreciate you getting your hands dirty," or whatever. And
Oh yeah, and he gets in the car and Kevin Bacon picks him up.
yeah, it's really weird
That's right.
because they give the dad superhuman strength for some reason. Because there's
Power,
a weird scene
power of God.
where like he's watching his own daughter strip
There, yeah, yeah,
and he rips wood off the wall or something.
he does. Maybe
Like
that was
the
just really
railing.
weak wood.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was like a blackwood or something. I don't know. I was trying to think of the opposite of a redwood. That's what I came up with. What's the opposite of red, Tyler?
Colorblind.
Blue? That's right. I'm sorry I asked you these questions.
Gray? Gray wood?
Gray wood.
Is it gray?
Yeah.
Is that...
Gray worm. That's a
But
Game
yeah,
of Thrones
like
character.
the whole movie is just lame. Like you don't really get to see the kills. They happen off camera. Every now and then you get to see a body.
The only ones that really happen on camera, you get she's walking home one night and a guy comes out and he's either gonna mug her or rape her, one of those,
Or both.
or both. But you know, Maxine's been through some shit, so she's got a pistol in her purse. So she pulls it out on him, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa!" And so she makes him strip. She makes him get down on her knees and suck her gun, and he just straight up like deep throats this gun, like no questions asked, tongue working on it and stuff. And then she makes him get on the ground on his belly, and she's like face down, ass up, or whatever. And I was like, oh, she's gonna shove the gun like in his asshole, but no, she goes over and she just stomps on dude's dick and balls and explodes it. It's just and yeah, and that was the first 20 minutes in, and I was like, oh, okay, we're getting some action. And then we never got anything like that until the very end, when she has her dad and a shotgun pointed at him, and you get a pretty cool head explosion when she shoots him in the fucking head. But besides that, that's really it. The black dude that runs the porno shop, you see him get stabbed a couple times, but it like cuts away after every like you don't really see, everything happen. And then who else died? The one lady who was really nice to her on the set, and then she was like, I'm going to this party with this big producer, and I was like, she's dead. And she died off screen, but you see like her head later in the guy's house when Maxine goes to the mansion or whatever. And then Halsey is this her film debut, Halsey?
I'm sure she was in something else, but this is her first like big thing.
Yeah,
right?
to the point that
wasn't-
she's like second billing. No, this was not the first thing she was in. I went on her IMDb. Turns out she has been in a bunch of stuff. So disregard what we were saying. We were clearly underestimated the power of Halsey. Like when the movie starts, it's like Mia Goth, Halsey, and it's like, okay, Halsey's gonna be in this movie a lot. She has one scene where she is talking to Mia Goth about like Mia Goth just got the role in The Period 2, and she's like, you'll never make it, or horror movies aren't gonna make you famous or whatever, And then like it immediately cuts to like her tied up and about to be murdered, and that's it. She just gets killed, and Halsey's out of the rest of the movie. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks for coming. Yeah, so her role wasn't very big.
The other, because they're like hookers / porn stars or whatever. I don't know if they're actually hookers.
They're,
but-
I think they're just Well, they're working all types of jobs. Like Maxine has her weird like stripper behind a window job. She's working. Uh, what was that? What was that other shit she was doing? She's still doing porn.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. But yeah, Halsey I think was like they knew each other from the strip joint, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I got this high roller paying me to be his girlfriend for the night or whatever at this party." So I think they're just working like various. They're just making money however they can.
But like the other one, the blonde, I don't know her name. The first one that vanished, who was
Okay, yeah.
like had more screen time than Halsey did, and she's not famous, you know. So like, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
How did we like
Oh,
Kevin
yeah.
Bacon in this movie?
I'm gonna say
I couldn't
something.
decide if he was good or terrible when I was watching it.
There are certain people who, and this is gonna go for the second movie too,
Mm-hmm.
who are so recognizable that they can't play roles like that because you see Kevin Bacon and he's trying to act like a Louisiana private eye, and you're like, come on, Bacon, do a little dance, or
Yeah.
whatever. And like, I don't know, it's just so out of their wheelhouse. I'm sure he did a great job or whatever, but to me, it wasn't believable. But I have that problem a lot.
Mm.
So
He's got like gold teeth.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He gets his ass beat at one point. That was very funny, where he's just following Maxine around. He's a hired like private. You can't even really call him a private detective, because he's like just setting people up to be killed for the dad. But he's like following Maxine, and Maxine just gets out with her gun and comes over and just starts beating the shit out of him. And he's like, ah! In the rest of the movie, he's got like his nose bandaged up and he's got like black eyes and shit. Um, yeah, his death is kind of disappointing too, Kevin Bacon's. It kind of comes out of nowhere, where he just keeps following Maxine around, and then he follows her into like a club, and she's kind of giving him eyes like, "Hey, follow me over here." And I was like, "Oh, she's gonna like get him, be like, oh, we'll fuck or whatever," and then she'll like stab him in the neck. But no, she like just makes him follow her to the bathroom. He sees the windows open, so she had gone outside. So he goes out back, and Maxine's standing out there with Gus from Breaking Bad, who is her agent. And it turns out that Gus, as an agent, is ready to just get down on whatever. And so this dude comes up behind him and whacks him in the back. I like this shot where they hit him in the back with the baseball bat, and he just like falls like off of the little step up thing he's on. Is he on like a docking bay or something?
yeah,
Yeah, and he gets whacked and just falls like face first onto the concrete. But then he wakes up and he's in a car, handcuffed in the car, and he's in a junkyard. And I was like, well, that's not good. And yeah, he's on the crushing thing or whatever. And I feel like they could have done more with it, but it was basically just a shot of the car crushing from the side and then like some blood spilling out. And that was it, and Kevin Bacon was dead. That was also the last time you saw Gus in the movie too. He was like, "I'll clean this up. You go home."
And the random bouncer with dogs for
The
no
random
reason.
bouncer with dogs, yeah, that come over and lick the blood.
Like, you could just use a hose, and they're like, no, get
Yeah.
the dogs.
Was that? I think that was the first time those dogs were in the movie too. I don't
Yeah,
remember seeing them before.
Like I said, the whole movie was just didn't make sense. It didn't join up right and all that. It's
Um, the Bates Motel is there a lot. They keep driving by the Bates Motel because I think at the time they're making the Puritan 2, they're also making Psycho 2 or something like that. Not the climax of the house, but Kevin Bacon chases Maxine through like Warner Brothers or Universal, whatever the studio is, and they wind up in like this house. And I've never seen Psycho. It's one of the movies that I need to see. Maybe we'll watch it for the show one day. And I was like, "Is this supposed to be the X house?" And Tyler was like, "This is the Psycho house." And I was like, there's a house inside. I just knew the motel. I didn't know there was a house involved. But yeah, so they wind up in like a model of the psycho house that you don't really see much of, do you? You see the outside, and then she just kind of like hangs out in the living room while the guy gets arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he
Like,
disappears.
I think it is the Psycho House, not like a well, I mean,
Maybe
it's supposed to be the Psycho House,
it
but
is. Yeah.
it could have been a model because the house was from like a billion years ago. But yeah.
Uh huh. We're missing the whole plot line with the cops
Oh,
that I totally forgot about because it's in the. So the cops in this movie, one of them, the woman's famous. Who's the lady?
I've never seen her before in my life.
Are you sure? The guy cop is, I kept calling him the Adam Sandler guy. He's the quarterback in Waterboy. He's also, he's in a whole bunch of shit.
What? No, he's not.
What?
He's not the quarterback in the Wonder Boy.
He's the quarterback in the Waterboy.
No, he's the dad from Ant-Man, the stepdad.
What?
He's the same guy from that old Dad's movie I was telling you yesterday. The quarterback for the Waterboy is like some young dude. They don't even look alike.
Well, listen, that movie was 30 years ago, man.
I know you're Googling right now
I
because you
am,
don't believe me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna need you to put a picture of both these guys up and just see how different they look.
All right, I will. Hold on. So that's the Waterboy guy.
He does look more like him now that I see that picture, but there's no way it's the same guy.
Fuck it, I'm just gonna take a screenshot. I didn't want to download.
Is it telling you their names when you look it up though?
Yeah, they're not the same guy, but I mean,
Thank God, because if I was wrong, I was gonna feel like a dick.
yeah. Well, now, why didn't you correct? I mean, the whole time I kept calling him the Adam Sandler
You kept
guy.
calling the Waterboy guy, and I was like, he's probably been in a movie with Adam Sandler.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was like, yeah, that's the Waterboy
He's in
guy.
the same circles, right? Like,
I don't know. I'm looking at this, and he's not in a single Adam Sandler movie.
I know he's the stepdad from.
Oh well,
whatever.
he's in Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah, see, he's in that kind of stuff. So, like, he's that kind of actor. So I just assumed you were referencing fucking Zohan or something. One of those weird Adam Sandler movies I didn't watch.
All right, well, anyway, take away what I said about him being the Waterboy guy. But anyway, it's him, and I didn't even get to see who the lady was because I was too busy. And the lady cop. And they're trying to solve the, this spring of, or the murders of all these women. And it just so happens that everyone that's dying is, like, connected to Maxxine. So I kept waiting for it to be, like they were gonna, they never took her serious as, like, a suspect, I don't think. I kept waiting for it to be like, oh, Maxxine is killing these people. But no, it was never that, but they just wanted her help with solving the murder. Like, for some reason, she would know who was doing it, and Maxxine was like, no, I don't want to help. There's also the scene where after the porno shop dude gets murdered, they're rolling his body out, and apparently the porno shop is right underneath their apartment that they live in. And Maxxine comes out and sees them rolling the body out, and the lady detective stops them and goes and just lifts off the the blanket. There's like a big crowd around and just shows everyone this dead guy. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, cops don't do that. But yeah, and they show up, I guess, at the, Maxxine eventually figures out, oh, it's my dad, killing people. He's part, so the dad's whole thing was he was making his own movie, and his daughter was going to be the star of it. Like, he was killing these people, giving his daughter what he wanted, making a movie. And then she was supposed to go along with it and be like, I repent for my sins or whatever. And they wouldn't kill her. Yeah. But the cops show up at the end and they start, shooting all the cult guys. And then, oh, doesn't Maxine like stabs a dude through the nose with a knife? I remember that. She was like underneath she was in the pool and she stabbed that guy through the nose. That was pretty cool. But they chase the dad like up by the Hollywood sign, and the not Waterboy guy gets like shot in the stomach or something, and he's like and he's laying there, and he's like, I always wanted to be an actor too, and then and he just dies, and Maxine leaves, goes after the lady cop who's run after her dad. And the lady cop has shot the dad, right? Off screen. You don't see it happen. And in turn, she had been shot in like the eye or something, right? Like she comes out like holding her eye.
Yeah.
And she comes out and she's like, I shot him. I got him good. And just falls and rolls down this hill. And I didn't think about it at the time, but that's it. I think she's dead there. Like she never comes back in the movie. Yeah, and that's the whole story with the cops is that's it the whole time.
I don't even know why they're there. They don't bring anything to the scenario.
No.
They don't find out anything. It's like I said, the whole movie is I don't know. It's just like killing an hour, and the only way it's entertaining is if you're actually trying to follow the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. It's a very disappointing final act of the trilogy, which, you know, like I said, I'm not even a terribly big fan of the other two, but I like them enough and they have enough going for them that I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see what the third one has. And it just it just never, there was never anything in it that I was like, all right, this was worth seeing the movie.
So I got a weird question.
Okay.
Can you tell me if I'm wrong? The first one had tons of nudity and fucking, right?
Yeah, tons of it.
Second one, very little.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think there's any nudity.
Yeah. The third one had nothing.
Well, the third one, they show the Mia Goth from the first one when she's getting dicked down because the guy sends her the video.
But I still think it's done like to where you don't see anything, right?
No, you see her tits. Yeah, yeah. And then when she walks into the porn set the one time, those people are just over there banging. But it's kind of far enough away that you don't really see anything. But besides when she was like stripping, but she's wearing like underwear, so yeah. Yeah, so you don't really see anything there, but that's about it though. But by the way, I don't there's always a criticism of the first one that I don't know if you've ever seen, but it's always about Jenna Ortega, and it's like the criticism always, who the fuck is hiring a 4'11", 120-pound girl to be the boom mic operator? And every time I think about that, I laugh, where I'm like, yeah, why was she, you know? But I guess it's because her boyfriend like wrote the movie or whatever. Yeah. Boy, that poor guy. Had to watch Kid Cudi bang his girl, and then he went and just got murdered by Pearl immediately afterwards. Feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, enough of this movie.
Yeah, so that's the end of Maxxine. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. Tyler says if you've seen the other two, you should watch it. But don't go buying tickets. Like, you can go. Also, I forgot to mention, we went to that movie on the day after 4th of July, and we went like 2:30. It was a 2:30 showing, and we walked in, and every other seat or every other person in there that had bought a ticket was like between 60 and 70 years old. Like, we walked in, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then every time someone walked in, they were just another old, and I was like, me and Tyler were like, do you think they saw the trailer and thought this was just like a movie about like an actress or something? They didn't know that it was this, you know, porno slasher mystery type movie. And we never got to the bottom of that question, but I just wanted to point out there that apparently this movie is very popular amongst the older crowd. So there you go. But yeah, so anyway, that's the end of Maxxine. We also went to go see yesterday, last night, as a matter of fact, on opening day when it came out. We went to go see Longlegs, the new Nicolas Cage movie, I guess you could call it. He's in a bunch of it. Uh, the studio is Neon, who I told Tyler I think they're trying to become like the new A24. They played like 3 Neon trailers before the movie, and it all seemed to be of kind of that A24-ish style, uh, you know. But I think this is the first movie I've ever watched. It's like a Neon Studios movie. Uh, this was probably, I told Tyler, my most anticipated movie of the year, besides Nosferatu. That Nosferatu doesn't even come out till Christmas. They played a trailer for it before the movie started. It was one of the 30 trailers that Cinemark plays before a movie starts. uh, but yeah, so I was gonna be very disappointed if the movie sucked. Uh, and very disappointed because every bit of marketing for this movie is like, come see this and you will have a fucking heart attack. You will die. Like watching this movie. It is so scary. Um, and so we saw it. Packed house. Didn't die. We're still alive. Packed house. Most crowded theater I've been in forever. To the point of detriment for a little bit, because there was a solid first 30 minutes where we had a group of like girls behind us. I think there was a dude amongst them too, but it was mostly girls who like were just saying nonsense. At one point, I remember the lady going, "I want to be rich." I was like, "What?" And all this shit. One of my favorites is they played the Alien trailer before the movie started, and it's popping up like the letters to spell out alien, but it's in that weird like alien text where it's kind of like weird shapes. And the lady goes, "I thought it said Alice." And Tyler next to me goes, "Good guess." I thought that was very funny. But yeah, and then a guy down in front of me, it was just like he had something, a bag of chips, and he was just constantly crinkling like as loud as he could. And Longlegs is a very quiet movie, we learned. There's a lot of points where it's just people talking and no music, no you know, ambient sounds in the background, nothing, just dead silence and them talking. But we saw it, and I would have to say that it did disappoint me, Tyler. It's a
What?
it's a very strange movie. It's not scary. You know, some, I guess to some people it might be. Me and Tyler had different opinions because we had a total of 4 people walk out of our movie and just leave and never come back. Tyler at the end of it thought it was because they were scared or creeped out. Well, that was one. There was one couple that walked out, and Tyler thought it was because they were scared. And then the other people, you said they walked out after the dude was like, "Hail Satan," and so you were like, "Oh, you think they got like offended or something?" But I think it was just they were like, "Fuck this movie," and they just left. It was kind of crazy because there was only like 30 minutes left in the movie for some of them.
Those second ones, it was like
Yeah,
you had like 20 minutes left.
yeah, and it was like you don't even
missed,
care to see what could
you
be
sat
the
through
end.
all that and you'll never get the payoff.
Yeah. So yeah, I was disappointed by it. I wouldn't say I hated it. I certainly didn't hate it. Me and Tyler both aren't really sure what happened. We were kind of talking about it on the ride back from the theater. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange movie. Tyler, how do you feel about it?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought the story built up well. I thought the villain kind of let it down a little. I mean, I know that's blasphemy,
Mm.
but if you had anyone else in that role, this was the same thing I was talking about the Kevin Bacon thing, right? It was like, I don't think there was enough screen time for the bad guy. But
Oh
like
yeah.
the build up and everything was really good, and then like there was just no payout. You
Yeah.
know, right? Like they're like, "This is who it is," and you're like, "Ah, well, time to
Yeah.
go home."
Yeah. Well, yeah, kind of, because Nicolas Cage in the movie is my favorite part of the movie, but simultaneously, he's terrible. But that's why I like it so much, because he's full on like the last Nicolas Cage movie I watched was Pig, and he's very subdued in that movie. It's a very somber and realistic portrayal of that character that he's playing. This movie is full. They just gave Nicolas Cage the reins and they said, "Do what you want with the character," and he did it. He went all out. he definitely every scene that he was in, he was fully committed to that character that he was trying to build. And boy, it was something. We were leaving, and the guy walking out with us, he said I don't know what Nicolas Cage was thinking with that movie. That was after we were talking about T-Rex, because for some reason this movie decides to start off with a quote from the band T-Rex, and by a quote from the band T-Rex, I mean they just take a lyric. It's from the fucking Bang a Gong, Get It On or whatever. It's "You're dirty and sweet and you're my girl." And then at the end of the movie, they play that song, and I was walking out and singing it, and the guy in front of me was like, "That's the best part of that movie." And I said, "Fuck yeah, T-Rex, bro." And Tyler was like, "You done talking about T-Rex? Can we get out of here?" Yeah. Also, I was wearing the Primus shirt that's backwards in this camera. But I like your shirt walking in. I was very happy about it. And Tyler was like, "You found the one other Primus fan and bugging."
In the state.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
it showed off the tattoo, but you failed.
well, I mean, we were walking by. They said it like as they were here, you know? So it was like, yeah, you know.
You have to seize the moment. Hey, come here.
I guess. Yeah, but anyway, Nicolas Cage was simultaneously my favorite part and terrible in the movie.
Yeah, like he ruined the movie, but he was cool. Like
That's kind of how it went, yeah.
it's kind of like the Color of Space or whatever.
Color Out of Space, he's great.
But it's the same thing, right? He ruins the movie.
Get the
but
fuck
he's
out of
cool.
my face.
Yeah.
That movie rules, dude.
Tomatoes and everything.
Yeah,
but,
they're alpacas. Him and the
no.
we get another car freak out in this movie. Color Out of Space, he's and he's like hitting the steering wheel. This one I was a big fan of, where he's just driving and then out of nowhere he's just, "Mommy, Daddy!" just starts screaming, and every time you can. Tyler will back me up on this. Every time Nicolas Cage went into one of his Nicolas Cage freakouts, I'm just cracking up, and I look over at him every time. And Tyler will look at me, and he'll just see me laughing. And I feel like I was the only one laughing in the whole movie. I feel like it's because we've watched so many Nicolas Cage movies, and I'm such a fan of his weird freakouts because they're so funny to me. So it was exactly what I wanted from his performance, and no one else was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who was just dying laughing every time he was doing this. Which, once again, I don't know. I don't think it's supposed to be funny. I think it's supposed to be very disturbed and psychotic. But to me, it was, boy.
It's because you're not seeing the character. You're just seeing Nicolas Cage.
That's
right?
probably, yeah. I'm seeing Nicolas Cage.
And that was like my whole, I don't want to say issue, but the whole problem with it, right? For me,
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, hey, it's Nicolas Cage. It wasn't, hey, it's Longlegs,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
But hey, we'll get into spoilers. Would you recommend this movie to people, Tyler?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Like, if you think about horror movies in the last 5 years, right? Like, what's come out that's better than this?
In the last 5 years?
Yeah.
The Lighthouse.
Screams? The Lighthouse been in the last 5 years? I don't know.
2019. Just barely.
But yeah, barely, yeah. But,
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
It's, it's
dash
the
cam.
fucking. I don't even know if it came out in theaters, but yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, if you have like the horror itch, right? Then yeah, like
I
because
would,
we've been
yeah.
and we haven't been able to see anything because it's all. I mean, this or Maxine. Which one are you going to suggest?
Long legs. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
long legs better than Maxine.
Now, in 6 months or July or whatever,
Uh,
when fucking Nosferatu comes out, Heretic
Christmas.
comes out, Trap, um, there's a bunch, right? What's
Yeah,
that other neon movie? Cuckoo, or
Kogu or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of
What's
stuff
that
on the
one
way,
with
but
the fucking Notting Hill guy where he traps the people in a maze or whatever?
that's Heretic.
Oh, okay.
Because he's like, I'll show you if you believe in God, I'll give you a
Yeah,
miracle or something.
yeah. Which when we saw that trailer, I leaned over to Tyler and I said, "The last thing I saw this guy in, he was a Oompa Loompa," and now he was up there like trapping girls in his maze or whatever. But yeah, I'm the same way. If you're a horror fan, which I assume you probably are, if you're watching this video, I would say probably go watch it.
The problem is nowadays horrors doesn't really like. We had Halloween last year. It was a little bit on the weak side. We've had other things, but like Halloween, Scream, stuff like that. It's kind of rinse and repeat. This is something that's completely different. Is out of the norm. You could tell they're like taking chances and so on. It's a whole thing. But like it isn't a classic horror like slasher jump scare thing, but it's
Which
not
I
like a
didn't want it to be.
psychological either, but they just went light on the psychological and just was like, here's Nick Cage freaking the fuck out.
Mm,
So
yeah,
yeah, I would suggest it the most.
yeah.
So
All right. Well,
sorry.
hey, spoilers. Which I don't really know how much we can spoil in it. I guess kind of the way that he's doing the killing, but besides that, like the movie's kind of spelled out for you in the trailer. Like Nicolas Cage is a serial killer. There you go.
Yeah.
But you know, it gets. I wasn't expecting. I thought this movie was just gonna be a straight up kind of like Seven. Nicolas Cage is just a psycho killer dude who's being creepy. I wasn't expecting it to be almost paranormal and religious and maybe the devil is killing people. we're not really 100% sure. Uh yeah, there's also the main actress in this movie who I told Tyler for like the first 45-50 minutes I really liked her performance, and then at some point there hit a wall where I was watching her, and every scene I was like, I don't think she's doing this very well. And I don't remember the exact moment, but I remember a certain point watching her and being like, oh, I don't think she's doing that great right now. uh the character was also weird that she played. We talked about it. She may be slightly autistic, just because there's a scene where, well, there's a couple scenes really, but there's a scene where she works for the FBI and her boss gets drunk while they're talking about the case of Longlegs, and he makes her drive him home and introduces him to her his family, and she's just like super awkward and she doesn't look anybody in the eyes, and his daughter like wants her to come to her room, and there's a shot where she's just like sitting on the edge of the bed like looking around and being like, do you play with that toy, and like that's the whole conversation. um so so it's like, okay, there's that, and then and they never really go in on it more. She's maybe has like a half psychic powers, like they're the beginning of the movie, they're on a manhunt for a serial killer, and it's kind of a fake out where you think they're looking for long legs, and they're out going door to door like, have you seen this man, have you seen this man? uh she is like standing on the curb and she looks over at this house and she goes, it's that one, he's in that one. And her partner's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, trust me, he's in that one. So he's like, well, I'll go knock on the door and see what happens. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, this guy's just gonna get shot in the head immediately, isn't he? And so he rings the doorbell, and the person opens up the door, and he gets shot in the head. And I was like, yep. And then she goes in, and the house has all these tarps hanging everywhere. And she goes up, and it's just a random dude, just a random serial killer dude. And she arrests him, and they give her these like, it reminded me of the Blade Runner test in 2049 or whatever, where it's like, what do they keep saying? Where it's like, what were you doing out there? Reset. What were, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
test if they're an android or not.
Yeah. And she does that test where they just like pop up these images for like half a second, and they're like super obscure, just shapes, and you're supposed to tell them, what it reminds you of. And then they pop up like the same images, but apparently there's a number hidden in there.
No, they're continuing the test, and they're making her pick a number between 0 and 100.
Yeah.
So,
but she got it right 8 times.
out of 16.
Yeah. She also got it wrong 8 times. And the guy
So
has the line where he's like, well, half psychic sounds better than not psychic at all.
Like, I show you an image, and you tell me what it makes you think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I make you pick a number. So you can't think about the number. You just got to pick one, right? Because you're too busy thinking about the image.
Yeah.
I think that's the logic there, but I don't know. It's a throwaway scene just to tell you she's psychic.
Yeah. And then, do they ever really use her psychic abilities after that? The only one I can think of is maybe when they go looking for the X marks the spot, because she's like, it's over there. And they go to the barn. But I don't know if that was her being psychic, or if she just knew that they were looking for the barn. Or if she just saw the X. Yeah. Which, once again, very, very weird that no other detectives, when they investigated that crime scene, was like, wait a minute. Oh, I guess he could have made it. He made it later for her to find,
It's a weird thing to where it came up all the time, and she used it, but they never really, talked about it.
Yeah.
Remember, because she, deciphered the whole code and didn't know, and then she got the letter
Well,
randomly at her house and all this weird stuff.
well, that's how she deciphered the code, because the guy gave her the 3 lines or whatever, and spelled out what it was for her. So then she could take it and start matching it. To be fair, though, that was only a little bit of the alphabet. So the other letters, she just had to figure those out. But he gave her a clue of how to start. Yeah. But yeah, I can't think of any time they really used the psychic ability. They dropped the name of the movie 2 minutes into the movie, which was pretty cool. I told Tyler I thought the movie was going to be in a 4:3 aspect ratio, kind of like the Lighthouse. It was even smaller than that when it started. It was like a box. It was like an old 70s style home video. And Nicolas Cage shows up, and he's talking to this little girl, and Nicolas Cage decided to use this super high pitched. I thought he was a woman. I thought he was playing a woman at first. And he's like, oh, looks like I have my long legs on. And I was like, he just said the movie name. And then they keep building up to Nicolas Cage's face. They don't want to show you his face. So he drops in the frame, and it cuts to the title card real fast. And every time they show him for a long time, they keep obscuring how he looks. To the point that I was like, oh man, this guy must look like a freak. And then you see him, and I mean, he doesn't look normal. But it's not anything. He's got a Michael Jackson nose going on. He's pale white. He's got long, gray, greasy hair. And his chin is big. And his cheekbones are kind of weird too. But
well, the weird thing is, he looks like he's from the 80s, but the movie where you see him is during the 90s. He looks like an extra from a White Snake video. Because he's wearing all white denim.
Yeah,
or, dirty white denim. And he looks like he's pulled
it honestly
straight
might
out
be
of,
the
a
same
D.
shit
Snyder
he was
thing.
wearing in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because it was so dirty looking.
So he doesn't look that creepy. He just looks weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so Nicolas Cage's killer name is Longlegs in this movie. Uh, he says his real name eventually, but I don't remember what the fuck it was. But yeah, so Longlegs. There's no spiders involved in this movie. Not one. Not even a glimpse of a spider. There's a bunch of cuts to snakes with a red tinted filter on it that it's in the main actress lady's brain, but we're not. She has a bunch of. So one of the big twists of the movie is that Nicolas Cage came to, I guess, his whole thing. He murders people on their birthday, and their birthdays always take place on the 14th, and the lady's birthday is March. Wait, yeah, that's her birthday. It was January 14th. Who was March 14th?
It just happened. Carol Landings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The lady who jumped off the roof.
Yeah, and I leaned over to Tyler and I was like, oh, "That's my birthday." um, but yeah, and Nicolas Cage came to the little girl that we see at the beginning where he's talking to her. That's the grown up girl now, who's the FBI agent, and he came to do his devil killing. But the mom begs for him not to kill her. So big spoiler of the movie, the mom is like the one who's really doing the killing. Well, not the killing, but she's the one that she's a nurse and she's like religious. So she goes and knocks on people's houses and she's like, "Oh, you won a present from the church." And it's these dolls that Nicolas Cage makes, and he puts these little like silver balls in their head where their brain is, and it somehow like maybe the devil is in there.
Yeah, it's like has the essence of Satan in it or whatever.
And the doll makes the dad, like, hypnotizes them. It makes the dad go crazy. Kind of makes everyone go crazy because we see it in action later, and everyone's kind of out of it. And so the dads just murder these families and then kill themselves. But then the reason they know it's Longlegs doing the killing is because these letters have been left behind in this code, kind of like Zodiac style. But they don't know how he gets in. There's never a sign of breaking and entering or whatever. And there's never even a sign of him being there, and that's because he's never there. It's it's the lady.
Well,
and
he is though.
Well, no, she carries in the letter too.
Yeah, but they showed him tying up people and stuff.
Well, that was.
Or was that just her?
That was just her. So was it like? Do you think she was the first? It might have been because it was January, and then if he worked his way through the year. Oh.
I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know why the 14th was such a day. If that makes sense.
I think it was just because on the map it made the upside down triangle or whatever.
Yeah, but couldn't you do that with like the 16th next month? Next year.
Had to be the 14th.
And just find the same people in the triangle.
No, no.
I just don't remember if there was like a significant thing about that. But
I don't know. The lady definitely thought there was because she stays up like making these diagrams and she like gives it to her boss. And he's like, "Fuck does this mean?"
Yeah. Like, no, I mean, yeah, I know like it made the triangle, but
yeah,
you could probably find the same people like on a different day.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't remember if the number was like the number of Satan or something. Like, I don't know what's special about the 14th.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
But anyway, so that the lady has like a bunch of buried trauma from that night. It's almost like her memory's been wiped. But
yeah, I was gonna say, because remember that ball breaks and then like the smoke goes to her and then she remembers everything.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there's snakes. We keep getting flashes of those. A lot of this movie is like just newspaper clippings of murders and just showing you like crime scene photos and stuff, which I like that. I thought that was cool. I like it when they try to make like sometimes it's clearly like super fake what they're showing, but I like it when they really try to make it gritty and real looking. Um, they find those bodies they were just covered in maggots and like bloated. And the one
Yeah.
girl apparently was like 9, but she looked like she was 40 with how it was all
Yeah.
decayed or whatever. I was like, she was 9? Goddamn. um, yeah. Uh, what else?
That's about it. Like I said, the problem with both of these movies is like we can give you like the general idea, right? But like you kind of have to see them, right? Like
Mm.
especially Long Legs. Like the atmosphere of the whole movie is the movie,
Yeah.
right? That quiet, slow prodding, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Maxxine is just kind of like filler, But like
Uh,
you have to see it, to know.
they kept, I laughed every time it kept showing this Bill Clinton picture that the detective, the head detective dude had over his desk. And it was like every time they showed it, it was like center frame. Like you couldn't miss it. And every time I just kept laughing every time I saw Bill Clinton hanging out there. I don't know why. Um, the lady fucking that whole family gets murdered. That's the big end of the movie is the reveal that the mom is the accomplice. She just straight up blows off the head of that. We don't see it. You don't see any of the killings in this movie, really. You'll get like
Well,
quick
no.
flashes of it.
You get that dad with that axe.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, when he stabs the guy or when he hits the priest guy, the priest steps behind like where the door line is. So you don't even see him get stabbed. You see like the blood gush out. And then you see him hit the mom in the back of the head, but it just kind of cuts away. And then the lady detective guy, you know, it happens. The mom shoots and it misses, and then you don't see it. And Tyler's like, well, maybe she missed. But then she walks around and shoots her from the other side too. And it's like, oh, okay. My favorite killing in it probably was the 911 like recorded message of the guy being like, my wife, I gotta do it when her eyes are closed. And then you just hear him fuck. And it was really brutal sounding. I like that. That was probably my favorite one of the whole movie.
Well, like the guy, spoiler, but the cop at the end, you
Yeah.
hear the same thing when he's in the kitchen, and I'm like,
He
good lord.
he has one of my favorite lines of the movie where they're hypnotized by this point. It's his daughter's birthday, and the detective walks in, her mom's sitting there with the doll that's made of the little girl that hypnotizes them. And the wife is like, why don't we go cut the cakes? He's like, yeah, why don't we go fucking cut the cakes, you dumb bitch? And and they go and they're about to leave, and the lady goes, we'll be back. And the guy goes, no, I'll be back. You'll still be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. But yeah, so you hear him stabbing his wife. Oh, there you go. I guess you see he walks back in, and the lady cop is like, don't make me do this, and she fucking shoots him. And then she shoots her mom in the head. But then she goes to shoot the doll, and apparently she was out of bullets, which I thought it was just the devil was stopping her from shooting the doll. But it was making a clicking like she was out of bullets. But I don't know when she would have used, because she only shot the guy twice, right? And the mom
once
once.
in the shoulder, and then yeah,
And when had she used that gun before?
no clue.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I think Tom's right that the devil was stopping it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe the devil took out the extra bullets. Who knows?
he could have just been a little trickster and took out the bullets.
Like that's a weird part of this movie. Is like, don't get me wrong, it's a gruesome, almost like Silence of the Lamb feeling movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, everything in it's kind of kiddie, not kiddie, but like Nicolas's Cage character. Like, there's a scene where he goes from like joyful and like lighthearted to just the devil.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the same thing happened with the movie, right? Where at first you're like, okay, this is whatever, and then the end of the movie you're like, oh shit. So
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie, and I told Tyler, it's eventually like Nicolas Cage basically just gives himself up. like lets them know where he is. He's standing at like a bus stop, waiting for them to come arrest him. And they get him, and he's in the interrogation room. They show a video of him singing "Happy Birthday" to the Lee Carter. That's her name. Lee Harker is her name, not Lee Carter. Carter is her partner's name. So I got confused. The main cop lady. And he's like, "Happy birthday, Lee Carter," or whatever. And the lady cop who gets shot in the head in a little bit, she stops it and she goes, it goes on like that for a while. And I was like, oh, that's a great line. And I laughed. No one else in the theater thought it was funny. And then the lady's like, how much longer? And the lady goes, 24 minutes. But yeah, so the detective lady goes in to interrogate Nicolas Cage. And for the first, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, not 10 minutes, that scene doesn't last 10 minutes. But, the first little bit, he's still doing his high pitch, like, goofy voice. And then eventually he's like, I'm the fucking devil. I fucking, and he like goes into like the super deep demonic voice. And I was like, well, why didn't he just talk like that the whole movie? Like, that's way creepier than this weird, like, jovial voice he's putting on. But I don't know why. But then he snaps back out of it again. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then Nicolas Cage bashes his own head in on the table. He says, "Hail Satan," and just starts.
Which is like the most gory part of the whole movie.
Yeah. Did it almost look like his...
It's really shocking. Like,
did it almost look like his face was fake?
Yeah.
Like when he busted him, it looked like he had built like a mask on like his real face. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like, I don't know. He had done like a bunch of plastic surgery or something. Once again, MJ.
Master doll maker. So he could have had a fake face, right?
True, yeah.
Like his nose was very fake looking.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So
yeah. And then at the end of the movie, they show like an alternative ending for that. Because it's the same thing where he's like laughing and shit. And he's like, "Hail Satan." And he's like, and that's how the movie ends. And then it cuts in the T-Rex. And the credits are backwards, which that was the one spoiler Tyler told me about when we went to see it. So he goes, yeah, I know the credits are backwards, which I don't know why that was. But yeah, they start from the top and they come down, which we were trying to figure out if that had something to do with the story. Tyler had a theory at one point. The detective lady calls her mom early on in the movie, and it takes her mom like a little bit to answer. And when she does answer, she's like, oh, I was cleaning something up or whatever. Later on in the movie, after everything's gone down and the lady wakes up in her mom's house, the phone's ringing, and Tyler thought it was going to be like a time loop, and it ended up being like she had called herself or whatever. And he was doing like this finger motion, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he was trying to tell me something. But no, he goes down there, and it's just like a demonic voice. You're late for the birthday party.
The guy's already dead, so it doesn't make any sense. That part is really weird, so... just a thing though, I don't talk during movies, so that's why the hand signals was the thing. Like, some people get a little tipsy and tell you about the plot, The Weekend at Bernie's, but
I don't know who that would be. And then they give that lady, she gets in the car and she has her own little Nicolas Cage screaming session in the car, but it wasn't nearly as good as Nicolas Cage. You can't out Nicolas Cage, freak out Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
So let me ask a question.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with anything. Who's a better freak outer, Nicolas Cage or Willem Dafoe?
Nicolas Cage. When I think of Willem Dafoe, I don't think freak out. I think long monologue. Long dramatic monologue.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you needed to.
Yeah.
You heard about that hog, right? So.
Dude, yeah. Did you guys know Nicolas Cage just has a giant hog and they have to CGI out his dick? You
have to edit all that out.
I'm not. That's a compliment. That's why I was telling Tyler the Antichrist movie we watched back in the day. There's just a shot of full penetration when Willem Dafoe's banging his wife, and I said I know that's not really Willem Dafoe because that.
Anyway, again, all edited.
Anyway, yeah, when we were
There's no
watching
way.
when the Nosferatu trailer played and Willem Dafoe popped up, I leaned over to Tyler and I said, "Guy has a huge hog." um, but
Anyways, this movie pretty good. Go see it. I don't know where we left off. Restart.
I got you. You were too focused on Willem Dafoe.
Like I said, I think we covered it all, other than Satan and the dolls or whatever. But
Yeah, the
like,
doll, by the way, which no one seemed to be as concerned as I was that that doll's eyes opened. They didn't ever mention that about how the doll, the eye opened up. They were
well,
just,
I'm assuming because that's Satan in it, right?
I guess, is Satan? Yeah, if he's still in.
I think
Oh,
he's everywhere, right? Like,
yeah, he's the friend downstairs. Um, there kept being a shot of this lady when she was at her home that was like perfect over the shoulder, and you could see into like her kitchen, and it was framed perfectly to have like someone walk by or something like that, and I was like waiting for it. And Nicolas Cage does like end up like breaking in her home where he leaves the letter and stuff. But they do it like 4 times in the span of like 5 minutes, and they never do like a scare. And so I was like, well, later in the movie they're gonna come back to it and they'll do something with it. They never do. And it just I kept harboring on that. I was like, I can't believe they never did anything with that shot. Also, it was very fun being in the packed theater when there's the shot of the cop that's in the car and it cuts back to her when the mom's about to kill her. You'll know that's about to happen, but that's what happens. And the mom is standing like in the behind, and you can see her like the glass is kind of like foggy looking too, so it makes this cool little appearance. And I immediately because anytime we watch these movies, I'm always looking at the background because I'm like that's where most of the stuff's probably gonna happen. And so immediately I was like, oh, lady's standing right there, and it's very fun to listen to different people pick up on it later, where you just start hearing like a gasp over here, and people, oh, she's back there, she's back there, and that was very fun when that happened. What's also very fun is when Nicolas Cage says "Hail Satan" at the end and blows a kiss, and it cuts into T-Rex. Is hearing multiple people in different places go, "That movie fucking sucked." I don't think anyone liked that movie that we saw. It seemed like everyone was pretty much like, yeah, that sucked.
yeah, I was the only one who was like, all right.
Yeah, which I was surprised because you were like falling asleep.
Well, that's like I said, that's more to do with me than the whatever.
Yeah.
So,
He also Nicolas Cage sings a T-Rex song at one point. I assume it was T-Rex because, like I said, he was obsessed with T-Rex. He had a poster of them in his little lair. That's when the first people walked out. I seem to remember where he's just like, I go higher and a higher, and he was just singing it, and that's when the first people got up and left, and they were like, "Fuck this movie, dude." But yeah,
I don't know who the director is. Hopefully, he learns like a couple, like just some stuff from this, right? Because I have a feeling it's not going to be received well. The movie. That being
well,
said,
it's doing pretty good on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff right now.
like I said, I don't want him to change. I just want him to refine a little, right? Like a lot of times, folks get like demoralized, and then
Oz Perkins.
other folks
Holy
don't.
shit. He directed that fucking Gretel and Hansel movie. Did you ever watch that movie?
No,
That
is
was
that the one? With just,
that was the horror movie they made with the little girl that was Beverly in the new It movies, and it was Gretel and Hansel, obviously. I did an episode on it for the for the podcast, so you can go watch my opinions on Gretel and Hansel. Spoiler: I did not like that movie.
anyways, like I
Anyways,
said, I liked it. I liked the way it was going. It just didn't have enough scare. But I'd rather take a movie like that over like the Maxxine movie or whatever.
yeah, like I said, definitely better than Maxine. Um, to be fair, I talked about it how they kept advertising this movie as like scariest movie fucking ever made in my life. And they put out a thing that I sent to Tyler where the lady, the first time that she sees Nicolas Cage in costume is the interrogation scene, and her heart rate got to like 170 beats per minute. Tyler had his little heart rate monitor on to see. The highest it got was like 87, and that could have just been like he had like a palpitation or something.
Yeah,
it just got high.
I woke up, didn't know where I was. That's what...
Yeah, but it doesn't. Don't go into it being like scariest movie. Like it's a creepy movie. It's definitely an unsettling atmosphere, but there's nothing like scary about it. Which none of those movies really live up to the. I still say that the only movie that's ever lived up to its reputation to me is Cannibal Holocaust, and that's just because there's just so much animal killing. Like Tyler made it to like the first animal, where they stab that like muskrat in the neck or whatever, and then you tapped out. Like me and Bags watched that whole thing. There's a lot more animal killing, and there's just a lot of like really nasty rape, and like it's just a really nasty movie. That's the only movie where it got done, and I just sort of sat there for a minute and was like, oh.
Let's wrap it up. I gotta poop.
Okay, Tyler's gonna poop. Thanks for watching.
We did a 4-hour podcast on 2-hour-and-a-half movies again.
Nah,
I don't know how long it's been.
It's only been an hour 20, boy.
Really?
Yeah, this one is gonna be only like 10 minutes longer than the one we did on the Killing Deer movie or whatever. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. Coming up, I don't know. I told Tyler there's a movie called Where Evil Lurks. That is a Spanish horror movie that looks pretty cool that I think we should check out because I saw a scene from it that I was like, God damn. So if the rest of the movie is like it, then it'd probably be pretty good. I think we're probably going to watch that In a Violent Nature, the movie that from the point of view of the serial killer dude or the slasher killer dude. Once again, I have a feeling that movie's going to be very boring and not a lot to talk about. So you might get another one of these where we talk about 2 movies in the same episode because there might not be a lot to talk about on that one. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.